Yeah.
there isn't that much really on television of women over 40, basically. I mean, there used to be absolutely fabulous. I used to, when I was little, used to watch Birds of a Feather. And as a female growing up, to think that, you can be an actor in your 40s and it's absolutely fine, is fantastic. And then when I got into acting and decided to go professional, your age was a huge thing. And it was like, starting late as a female in the industry, it was like, you had to consider whether you were ready for that in itself, not just going into acting, which has got all its challenges, but as a female in her 40s in particular. And then, so as Anna and I started to look at, what inspires us on TV, what do we want these characters to be? We realised that we wanted them to be quite central characters with their own personalities, and not playing roles that are quite boring and generic. We wanted them to have real characters that, with all the things that your everyday person has challenges with, and also because they're called a peculiar pair, it's not that they're particularly peculiar, well, they are actually, but it's more about, we wanted to highlight that there's certain issues that still affect women over 40. And we just didn't really want them to go kind of unnoticed. And it's strange because as I've started to become more aware of this, I've made more connections on Twitter and Facebook with different people of similar age. I've joined an over 40s acting group. I now follow the Don't Cast Her Out campaign, which is about empowering more women on television over 40. So it's kind of opened up a whole new kind of thing.
That's really cool. We can definitely talk about that, because it's crazy to me that the last couple of years, there's been a push for diversity in film, television, both in front and behind the camera, that sort of thing, which is great and needed and long time coming, all that sort of stuff. But it's, as you were saying earlier, those we're probably more or less the same age. And yeah, those two TV shows from, I remember as a child, Absolute Fabulous, Birds of a Feather, that sort of stuff, where you had women who weren't like 20, 21 years old. The main people in it were older than sort of whatever the younger people were.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't, as conscious or as conscious as the industry pretends to be about things like that, that has completely gone out. And I'm trying to think both cinematic and just on TV. I don't watch huge amounts of TV, but yeah, you would have thought that would have been another easy thing to integrate into casting, into story ideas, plot, and everything else. But yeah, everything is certainly sort of the cinematic word is everything that if they've got female characters, they're all teenage, early 20s. And that's pretty much it. The universe world, all of that sort of stuff is you do not, I mean, let's say the Marvel stuff, because that's been huge in the last few years. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, and I'm pretty sure that there isn't a female character in any of the Marvel films or DC films that is like older than, say, 32.
Yeah. I know, and it seems to be that, if there is a role out there for a woman over 40, she's a mother, she's a doctor, she's, come on, they're not just that. We can be, they can be a central role of themselves, and that's what we wanted for this pair to be. We want the short film that we ended up doing is basically setting the scene for the characters, and you get to know each one, and they're very different. but they both come from very different experiences and different backgrounds, and you learn about the depth. They have some depth to them, which ultimately is why they work together as well, because they're kind of pulling apart, but they're also coming together, you know, in and out during the whole of the film. So yeah, we're quite strong, feel quite strong about it. I'd really like to. We really want to get it on TV. We want it to be a series. And in fact, the feedback that we've had from women over 40 is, this is brilliant. I can identify with this. It's funny. It's direct. When's the second one? When are you going to do another one? You know, and it's so frustrating because, you know, I keep going back with, yes, well, these are the comments that we need, because we need to be able to build a bigger picture and say, look, actually, this is something that people want to see. We should be hitting a broader audience. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the crazy thing, isn't it? If you're getting feedback saying that we really like this and you support it, then that's the huge flag. That's this huge, look, if people that are into this and help us get this out to a wider audience, help us with funding, whatever. People that should be looking for stuff that there's a demand for should be all over you. But it's almost like, no.
Well, I believe they were.
Yeah.
yeah. I believe they were looking for something like this. And I actually thought, you know, particularly because we ended up doing it through the lockdown.
Yeah.
We were told that content had dropped, obviously, as well, because of COVID. Yeah. So, you know, the fact that it was perfect timing to create something like this where there was a gap, you know, I just felt we might emerge and people go, actually, yeah, this is something that's good to run with. It's got real potential, or, you know, yeah, it would be really easy to recreate this. And the writer, Helen Tunnicliffe, she's from Leeds. She has written for an award winning sitcom that's on Amazon Prime. And she, in an interview, was saying equally that she was inspired by Caroline Aherne. She wanted to basically not replicate, but have a similar kind of natural viewpoint of where we're not laughing at terrible situations, but we tend to laugh at ourselves when, you know, it just helps us to cope with things if we find some humour in dire situations. And that's why she wrote The Peculiar Pair the way she did.
It's every day.
So for her, as well as a female writer, she wants So
it's just dealing with life, isn't it? You know, reality of life, and just the ups and downs, and the tragic humor and all that sort of stuff. So how did you make the short film that you made first, which you were wanting to do as like a sort of a pilot, as in to say, this is what we've got and we want to make more and turn it into a series? How did you go about doing that? Did you self-fund it yourself? Did you do a crowdfunder? And because it's only recent, isn't it? Was it 2020? Is that right? You made it?
Yes,
was it more
that's
recent?
right. Well, it was last year that we made it, but it was 2020 that we decided. No, we Anna, who plays Joanie, she became executive producer on it, so she funded it. And we basically teamed up, that I did the marketing and produced it, and she funded the filming and all the crew and the equipment. So we decided, because like I said, it was meant to be a play at first, so you know, the costs weren't going to be any of what it ended up turning out to be.
Sure.
Which is why I understand that people do crowdfunding. But she had this opportunity where she had some money that she wanted to spend on this, and therefore that's what we did.
Cool. And whatever it takes to get it across the line, you know.
I mean, we want it to be a series, but you know, it's funny because I would put out a bit of marketing on, oh, here's a peculiar pair, this is what's coming up next. And then sometimes you don't put stuff out because you're still waiting for footage, or you're waiting for this. And then people are then emailing you or messaging you saying, oh, you're not doing that anymore. And you're like, no, I'm still doing it, but it's obviously takes time. And then we put more stuff out. And then everyone's like, oh, yeah, you're back. You're actually doing something. It's like, no, we are still doing it. And that's another thing that we've learned is the process and how long things take. It takes ages. But, I'm also quite excited about the fact that, Only Fools and Horses, I think, took 10 years to get picked up. There are other things like similar that take a while to get picked up. We're not giving up, just because in the first instant, it's not been picked up.
Absolutely.
And that's why I want to put it into film festivals. And I hope that people would get to see it.
And absolutely, because that's kind of a avenue. I mean, even though that's hard in itself, but that is sort of an avenue to get things seen and people made aware of it. But it's almost sometimes that an idea, a creative idea, be it a book, a film, TV series, is a little bit ahead of their time, as in they're just a few steps ahead, and it takes whatever the decision maker time to catch up to go, actually, that's what's hot right now, that's what people are responding to. And I think what you guys are doing, and you're building up awareness of who you are about the show and everything else, that the more feedback you get, the more you can kind of show that, look, that there is an audience out there for that. Because ultimately that's whoever these people are, that are looking for shows, creating shows, wanting to make new shows for, say, the BBC, Channel 4, or one of the streaming platforms, whatever. At the end of the day, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for something that go, okay, there's going to be a connection to the audience, or at least they should be. So the more you can kind of prove that like you've done the hard work and the footwork yourself, and go, right, we've got hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people, then hopefully that would be like, okay, we need to take notice of what you guys are doing, So I think you're doing the right thing. It generally just the feedback you've got so far from the people that have seen it and watched it, as you sort of alluded to before, that it's positive. Why do you think that people are liking it so much? Is it because, as you've already sort of said, that you don't see many characters of your age on TV? Is it just the fact that they're relatable? Is it the writing is just really, really good?
I think it's all of those things. It's all of those things, and I think possibly as well, we try to also make sure that we use the best cameras. We also used, I worked on a student film, which is actually who then set up a production company to do this. And that was another thing for us. We felt that, a lot of students go through media school, as they do for many universities, and they come out and then there's nothing. So there's not just that they come out and there's not very much going on, but then you've got COVID that hits as well. So, the work that's open to them is probably very limited. So we used a few of the guys that I'd worked with before, and I proposed to them that they set up a production company, so that they could do this work with us, and they agreed, thankfully, because that also helps. So maybe that's why people like it as well, because it's really good quality. It's these guys know their stuff. They've been trained so well at Salford University. They really, really know what they're doing, and they're very young, but when they get on set, they just click into this professional mode, and it's fantastic. I've worked with many production companies, and they are just as good. And I think that maybe the quality is what people like as well. They edited it themselves, they filmed it, they did the lighting, they did the sound, and they were very passionate about it too, because it's one of their first pieces that they've done outside of university. So they tried really hard to make sure that it was really good quality, and that it flowed. It took a year to edit it, because we just kept going back to the drawing board and going, no, it's still not right. It's still not right. Not just us; they were saying it as well. They were very passionate about it.
Well, I mean,
So
that shows that they're taking it seriously, and this is not just, oh yeah, I'm doing this for these 2 weeks and I'm on to something else.
yeah, they've been fully invested in it. So I don't know, maybe people like it because of they identify the characters, like you say. It's easy to watch too. It's not too much thought goes behind it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you can see that everyone who's been involved has been fully invested in it. So kind of you don't have to do very much work when you're watching it.
Yeah. No, I mean it's very easy to watch and it's very entertaining. We were talking briefly before I started recording about the fact that you're making content in the north of England and lots of material is being produced from that area. Do you want to briefly talk about your experience from that, being outside of London and the London hub of where a lot of like film and TV stuff seems to either get made, or certainly the concept seems to sort of come from, and how Manchester, Liverpool, northern sort of cities are actually making their own content, and also that affects the type of content they're making in their own unique style.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know much about it. I don't really think too much about what's been going on within the London, because I've never been involved in that yet.
Sure.
We've been doing everything that I've done has been northern, and particularly we wanted to make it it's set in Didsbury, which is just on the outskirts of Manchester. It is Manchester. We wanted it to reflect maybe kind of the community there, what the issues that are still going on, because Didsbury's actually quite well off in parts. We weren't sure how well they might think if we're trying to portray that people are, have lived experience of homelessness, but they do, because I know a few people that actually are homeless that live in that area.
Sure.
So we wanted to reflect that it doesn't matter where you live, there's still a lot of diversity in the community. Also, there's been an article come out how we're up north. Eventually, we're all going to start speaking Southern. I think it's important to cultivate our accents, and it is an identity of an area, and that's particularly why we wanted to have a northern kind of theme. Plus, we are northern, so it's easier to do.
Sure. You're not sorry putting on an accent. But it is so important, isn't it? Really, because as a UK, but the whole world does get bombarded with American culture, American films, TV, and that sort of stuff. And I remember a few years back talking to a friend who had sort of young children, because they watch a lot of YouTube videos of kids opening presents. They're all American, so their kids started saying American things in a slight American accent, which was crazy to me. And again, it's so important just to kind of, if you're making content, making it in the UK, make it regional, because there's such a diverse range of accents, certainly in the UK, and areas, and each area's got their own words and culture and everything else, that they've
got their own dialect.
It's crazy not to. And again, it's like everything you see in TV is either kind of, if you see like a gangster thing, they're all kind of East End like geezers and all that sort of stuff, and it's just, there's so much more out there, so it's good that you're doing it, and other people are.
But I think it's important for people who are northern, I remember, Last of the Summer Wine was Yorkshire, but I always used to, even as a small child, I used to watch it, and even though the casts were over 65, I used to look.
Yeah, same here.
Just because I could identify with the accent. The first time that I saw A Taste of Honey, when I was young, which is a fantastic film, northern. It was all northern, and I was like, wow, it's fantastic to identify with, but also, as a young person, I aspired, oh, you can be an actor and be northern.
Yeah.
And it was the same when you know, Maxine Peake has mainly she's done mainly roles where she champions her own accent. She embraces it. Again, great inspiration, because you know where she's from. And even when she did Silk, where they actually apparently asked that she may try and speak in a southern accent, she challenged them by saying, what, so you know, a barrister or a solicitor can't be northern? You know, it's this stereotype of, you know, you're a certain thing if you're northern. You're a certain thing if you're southern, and it's ridiculous, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's very important.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great that you're doing that. What made you want to become an actress? And what was it, becoming an actress first and foremost, and then you've got into producing your own stuff, or did you always want to make stuff? Or was it a combination of both and being involved in this kind of industry?
No, I mean, as a child, I always wanted to be an actor, and I did do some drama school for a little while, but my confidence soon got the better of me, and I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. And then I never thought about it ever again. And then as I got older, my own child basically then went to drama school, and then she got tired of it after a couple of years, and said, I don't want to go anymore. But I was the one that was always at the door, like, oh, what's going on in there? So I said, all right, well, if you're not going to go, I'm going to go. So I started to go, and I loved it. I absolutely just love this new way of expressing myself, and I just fully threw myself into it. And that's when I started to take notice of other actors on TV, and you know, I started to think, you know, what kind of actor do I want to be? I think we sometimes think that, but you end up just being the one that you are.
Yeah, that's very true. That's
yeah, and then basically, as I networked, and I love meeting people, I love keeping in contact with people. If you meet me, it's very unlikely that you're going to get away. I will always keep track of you. And you know, one day I might message you and say, oh, I've got this going on, you've got really good skills, let's do this.
That's great.
Yeah, I think we should help each other create opportunities, you know, because I just think when you get to a certain level, you maybe stop doing that for people, because you have to take care of your own career, or because you have to protect yourself because you're not sure who is trying to access you for what gains.
Yeah. So
I understand when you get to a certain level that happens, but I really hope that never happens to me, because I think if you see something good in someone, you need to work with it. You need to
absolutely. I mean, and certainly when you're starting out, you need all the friends you can get. And even when we've been in the industry for like a long time, and I haven't. I've made like one short film, but knowing lots of other people and doing this and talking to lots of actors and filmmakers, and it's like you need to have quite a large pool of people that you can ask favors from, and in the hope that one of these people goes on to make something that's really, really big, and then you can kind of, hey, remember me? I was your best friend like 2 years ago. Now, you know, help me out, introduce me to whoever.
Yeah.
But not just that. Yeah. It's even on even at a bigger level. You know, like filmmakers tend to work with the same actors over and over again, don't they? You know.
Yeah.
The directors find someone and go, right, I get them, and we've got a good dynamic, and do you want to be in my next film, and that sort of thing. So I think naturally that just happens anyway, you know. So I think you build up rapport with people and everything else. But yeah, why wouldn't you do that? Why don't all filmmakers, actors, people making TV, whatever, help each other out? Because ultimately it's not necessarily because you want something in return, but it's just one, because it's a nice thing to do. But you then you trip over opportunities when you meet someone that perhaps you wouldn't have ever met before, and they're like, oh, they're really interested, and you're both interested in this other thing that no one else seems to care about. But it's like, okay, well, let's do that, you know, and it's just more comes from it, doesn't it? The fact that if you actually are of service to someone, you know, they're gonna kind of go, okay, that person's really nice and they really help me out.
Yeah, and I just think the more people yeah, I think it's about the more people you have in your corner, the better, because it's really difficult sometimes, as many actors will say. It's, you know, I'm sure that the mental health rate amongst actors must be extremely high.
Sure.
Because it's tough. You've got to be able to tell yourself that, you know, you are good enough and you're still going to carry on, and that if you get rejection, it doesn't matter, and so on. But if you've got a team of people that you can rely on, that can sometimes, when you're not in that mode of being able to tell yourself that, they can say, oh, well, you know, come on, you've been here before, I've been here before, it's cyclical, it will happen again. But the main thing is that you just carry on. You know, it's that. So if anything, not networking for production value is fantastic, but it's also for support.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, making films and content is an art form that's quite unique because of rejection, because of it's such a long period of time before something can be finished. It's such an expensive thing that, yeah, the idea of rejection and feeling that I'm wasting my life doing this, you know, we've 6 months in and like nothing's happening and there's all these problems. Yeah, I can imagine like the mental health aspect of this is probably one of the worst that any profession could be, certainly because there's like virtually no money in it, unless you get to like the 1% or whatever, and all those other reasons. But at the same time, that's, yeah, everyone should be supporting everyone else because they all go through it, you know.
Yeah.
What do you, from your point of view, and I try to ask this from everyone, what's changing, either good or bad, in making content in 2021? Obviously, COVID's had a big input, but do you see any particular things changing or about to change, or have things got easier? Have they got harder?
I think more people are being seen more readily, because I think that because the industry slowed down, casting directors and production companies did reach out more. They were watching a lot more content that came out of COVID. People were making their own home videos just to keep themselves being creative. So I think that the divide has reduced slightly, you know, where, you know, you could probably really not get hold of somebody who was of a certain level in the casting director scene. I think the fact that people have been creating their own content and throwing monologues out there just randomly, just finding new ways to access people who are normally inaccessible. So I think that's changed. I think also the self-tape auditions, so the way that, you know, casting directors are actually working and sourcing talent is changing, and I hope that stays for the better, because you know, to go to London and with the expense to go for an audition to then not get it and then go back to up north with your tail between your legs is pricey and upsetting. Sure. But you know, something that was just accepted, I suppose. So, you know, to be able to do an audition self-tape in your room and then crack on and get with your everyday job or whatever is just better way of working. And I think that, you know, you're then able to access more working class actors, because, you know, maybe certain opportunities won't be open to them. So that's changed, and I hope that stays for the good.
Sure.
And just generally, I think that people threw themselves into the internet. They went to social media sites. Twitter, particularly for me as an actor, I think is fantastic. The support on there is amazing. And so people are starting to reach out more, to network more, because they had to, where you used to go to a networking event in Manchester it was all done online. So, you know, if you couldn't make that, normally you wouldn't have made it. That was it. You missed it. But nothing is missed now. No opportunities are missed. Yeah, I think that's about it, really.
Yeah, and I mean that's a lot. What do you have planned next? Do you have other projects in mind? Or is it still you're focusing on this, to getting this to where you want to get it to make more content? What's the next?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll always be working on this. This will never not be a thing. It may sometimes just go under the radar a little bit, but generally it'll always be there in the background. And if an opportunity comes up, I'll be putting it in, you know, every step of the way. So that'll always be there. But talking about networking, I've got a friend who's written a comedy sitcom. He's seen what we've done with The Peculiar Pair, and he wants to do the same with that. So because I've had experience in that now, and I know kind of the route to take and what we need, we're working together on that. And I'm bringing in actors that I've worked with, or actors that I've seen on social media that I think are a little bit underrated. Hopefully get them in. So that's the next thing that I'm focusing on. I'm also doing a one-woman show in theatre. It's going to be in the new year now, and that is written and directed by Tom Wilson, a guy that I actually played a very small part in one of his plays in York a couple of months ago. And now from that small part, he's decided that he'd like me to portray this 70-odd-year-old woman who has lived experience of homelessness and is an ex-sex worker. And she's based from Manchester. And it's a fantastic 40-minute one-woman show that we're going to put on. So that's going to be in the new year.
Well, and where would that be? What theatre would that?
We're trying to work that out at the moment. yeah, we're trying to work that out. We want it to be hopefully in Manchester, because that's really where she's from. But we're trying to work that out. The venue is still yet to be decided.
Sure. So watch this space.
But it's definitely going to be in the new year.
Sure. And anyone watching this now who doesn't already follow you or know of you, how can people get in contact with you? How can they follow you? Social media, all that sort of stuff. I want to thank you, but let's do this again, and let's do another one in a couple of months' time and see how things have progressed.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thanks very much for your time.
No problem. Thank you.